Well, we are back, and it's actually our final installment of In the Circle. Can you believe it, Coach? Coach Jen Sewell is with us today from Southern Illinois. I mean, how quickly it has gone this year.
Yeah, it's always the discussion in the league around late March, like, oh, we've got April and we've got May, and then we don't have April or May. So here we are. Yeah.
Yeah, it's upon us already. And
Yeah.
kind of before we talk about this season, I want to get a little recap of last year and the great finish that you guys had, winning the conference tournament and then heading to the NCAA tournament. Just talk about the experience there and what a run you guys had, represented the Missouri Valley Conference very well.
Yeah, I think it was an important step for us to try to make it back to the regional final. In our way was a couple of one Pac-12 team, which was interesting because we came in as the 3 seed, not as the 4. Typically, had come in as the 4, which puts you up against that number 1 seed right away, which is an interesting start to a regional. Usually you're drawing the top of the SEC. So we got to kick it off, against Cal, and felt like we had a great shot. Beat them once, beat them twice, and then, LSU was a powerhouse last year. They're going to be a powerhouse this year, but I think it was an important step. We hadn't done that since the mid 2000s. So getting back and getting the conference back into the regional final conversation versus just AQing in and playing your 2 games and going home. I think this league still has it in them, and we wanted to try to prove that, not just through the at-large idea, but through, hey, we can run deep in this thing. So
Yeah, I think everybody was very proud of the way that you represented the conference, and job well done. And you head into this season, you lost 8 seniors off of that
yeah.
team, with some other players that left. And so you're kind of in a rebuilding mode a little bit. You start the season 1-12, but from that point, you're 28-6. So
Yeah.
you kind of hit a barrier there. What happened at that point to kind of turn you guys around and right the ship?
Well, I think 2 things happened. The scheduling got tough. Those first 13 or 14 games were as tough. I think it was top 15 or top 20 in strength of schedule in the country. I had not planned to schedule that tough, but you go into a site and you don't quite know who's going to be there. And the weather was playing havoc with those early tournaments, and people were dropping out and getting in. And these tournaments almost kept reloading with better teams. And we ran into some great Power 4 teams. At the time, I don't know if we felt like we were getting better in those games, but I think we were. And that's what showed up in sort of the swing once we got home. If you watch our seasons in the past, I think when we come home, we tend to settle in. And I think that's with the Coach B Classic and the Saluki Invitational. We did that this year and just got more comfortable, and got off the road. Anytime you can get off the road and sleep in your own bed and go through your own routine. And it allows you to get home and practice the things that otherwise you're just talking in a scout meeting or something. Hey, we have to do this better. We need to do this better. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But how do we physically do that? And I think we got home and got to work, and that was probably the difference. So that was a flip. This year was a flip of 50% of our roster. So I think it was an exact 11 players, so with 22 on the roster. So we knew we had a lot of off-season work to do, but we knew we had a lot of in-season work to do as well.
One of those players that is back from last year, Jackie Liss, and what a season she is having. A 3rd time this season, just recently named Player of the Week after an outstanding week. I think she was 7 for 10, 5 RBIs, a home run. I mean, just a big, big week at the plate. And
Yeah.
so I mean, she has been a constant player for you guys. Talk about her journey and what she brings to this team.
Well, I think anytime the target is on your back as a singular player, it can get very tough, and people can't ignore you. It doesn't matter where we put her in the lineup, they're circling her name. I think this year she's done an incredible job just psychologically understanding, hey, I don't have to carry this whole thing. I can take a walk, or I can hit a ball hard. I can play great defense. And there's a lot of people still around me. But I think people don't realize she may see one okay strike in a bat. And if she takes that pitch, um, it's an interesting, like game with yourself. Do I want to swing again? Do I not want to swing again? I've got people behind me. I think she played that game a little too much in her head early and then really settled down once we got home. And in conference, I think she's just more comfortable. And she just does a great job. She's a captain this year, along with 7 others, and they've done a great job with those younger kids, teaching them what the valley is like, and the ups and the downs, and what it means to go on the road and play well in the valley, and how tough that is, and then take care of your business at home. So I think she's taken on more of a, not just do her own thing, but more of a leadership role. And hey, we can all do this kind of together. So.
And part of that turnover was pitching. You lost some pitching last season, and you got a great transfer in, Mackenzie Newcomb, who you guys swept the awards this week in the Valley. You got Pitcher of the Week, Mackenzie Newcomb. Third time, I believe, she was named Pitcher of the Week. And so transfer in has made a huge impact on your team. Tell us a little bit about her.
Yeah, Mac is a player that we looked at. It's funny how things come back around in the recruiting world. We looked at her 4 years ago, I guess it would have been, in the recruiting process. And it wasn't that we weren't interested then. It just, we had an in-state player that we took at the time who was an absolute star on the mound. And so when we saw our name go in the portal, at the time, I was also hiring a pitching coach, and I said, hey, by the way, we don't have any returning pitching other than Keon McDowell. So when you take this job, just know, like, part of that is going to be going to the portal. And it's a funny small world that Lauren and Mackenzie knew each other kind of from afar through that recruiting process. So we were able to get her on campus. But I think it's that you're seeing softball really gravitate to veterans, right, who've experienced Division I at bats, who've experienced Division I pitching time. Even Mac had pitched against the SEC quite a bit, the ACC quite a bit. So she came in with a lot of innings, not just bulk innings, but good innings against big time teams. So we've used her, I would say, in a different way than we've ever used a number one, but it's worked out in terms of, like, she's 22 years old. I think when you're 22 versus 18, you don't, we all have our nicks and bruises and aches and pains, and she can predict the weather a little bit. But I think, she's a hardy, hard thrower with a very different look than what we've had in the past. And it matches up really well also with the younger players who then get to kind of do their thing and not have to worry about carrying this big load of innings. So.
Well, we talked a little bit about it. It is the final weekend of regular season play, which again is just crazy how fast it goes. But a lot of things can happen this weekend because the teams are, the top 4 or 5 are kind of bunched right there at the top. So the outcomes, these games are all important this weekend.
All important, yeah.
And so did you kind of, going into the conference play, did you kind of expect this kind of parity at the top of the league?
I was interested, I think there were some at the top of the league that did exactly what we did, which was play this really difficult grind schedule. Missouri State, Illinois State, UNI. Bradley had played a great schedule, and there were wins in the conference, like Evansville over Kentucky, and people were beating people, and I thought, wow, it's going to be the same competition. It's just going to look a little different. The names on the rosters are going to be different. I felt like we had this huge influx of COVID seniors that went out finally of the league, and it was like, who is going to step up and be the new names? And it's been fun to see which players on which rosters have become the new stars of the conference. So typical in the Valley, we're going to go down to the last weekend and sort literally 1 through 11. So I mean, it couldn't be any tighter. I told the kids, we could finish anywhere from like 1 to 5, and I think the 5th place could finish 5 to 10, and it's just a wild weekend, especially looking at matchups which are getting completely unpredictable. So
Exactly. I mean, I kind of took a look and said, okay, what's going to happen this weekend? Well,
yeah,
this happens, and
now,
I mean, it's a chess match,
right.
and we're just all going to have to scoreboard watch.
Right. And, you would have lost money betting in Vegas on some of the series this weekend, I guarantee you. And I think it's because we're really giving each other our best shot, and trying to, I think this year there's not going to be obviously an at-large situation. So it's going to come down to, who shows what hand, at the tournament. So I think we're all sort of guarding our, our pitching and making sure we're healthy and trying to get everybody, if you're dragging your arm, we're trying to give days off and things like that. But we're also going into finals for a lot of us. So there's an academic piece to that. We're trying to get rested and ready and not put our eyes too far ahead on the tournament, knowing that 3 games are a big deal right
Yeah, and speaking of the tournament, I know you're going to take one game at a time this weekend, but heading into that tournament, what's maybe the 1 or 2 things, I know there's a short turnaround time, but
Yeah.
that you really need to kind of shore up and be on point when you head into the tournament?
Yeah, I think the interesting part for us is, again, we're at Drake and did not play Drake. And 50% of our roster probably can't point out on a map where Drake is right now, so it's a very interesting, it can be a good thing and a bad thing when you show up to a neutral site and you've never been there. I think we really have to sort of keep all the pieces moving in the right direction. We can't peak too soon. We need to be playing well. Just overall, I think for us, it's going to be just staying sharp. In terms of defensively, we've come a long way trying to blend together as a new squad, but also just stay hot. I think that's the hardest thing, is not go into a tournament and change our mindset in terms of like, oh, we have been going 1 game at a time, but now we want to look at the whole tournament, or we want to worry about where we're seated or who we're going to play, that kind of thing. So I've liked that our squad has not had those conversations out loud. I don't know if they're having them maybe in the dark, but it's really been about, especially coming out of the Murray State weekend, it's really been about, hey, we're going to expect the best game out of Evansville Friday night. We're going to go from there. So.
Yeah, now when you guys get to the tournament, I'm going to bring a map with me. I'm going to bring it to your roster, see if they can point out Des Moines.
Did you see where they tried to draw Texas? I mean, we're talking about geographically challenged at this point. Like, it was, even the player from Texas, I'm not sure drew Texas correctly. So they can get you around TikTok and they can get you around Instagram, but I'm not sure the map is our thing. And I love our GPA. I'm not saying we're not trying really hard, but it was one of the funnier things. And I think it's like that new generation too, of like, hey, I'm here to play. Like, just get me on the field. Where the bus goes, get me to the hotel, get me on the field, and let's play ball. And I've appreciated that about this team. Like, not a lot of questions, just a lot of like, hey, whoever rolls out there is who we're going to play, and let's go play. So
yeah, and don't forget, get me food is the
right,
other
yes,
thing.
and feed me at least 3 times a day.
Feed me,
Yeah,
feed
yeah,
me, and we'll be in good
that
shape.
we talk about that as a coaching staff. We're at the point where like, no, don't order me any more food. I'm good. I've eaten 12 times today. And the kids are looking at us like, we're catering, right? Like, like what's the meal after tomorrow's meal? Because that's
Right.
I got a plan for that. So
they need a scouting report for the meals rather than the team that they're playing.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So, and I appreciate that. I'm sure as a player, I would have loved to have been fed like that as well. So I think we were mostly down to Subway in the late 90s. So
yeah, I agree with that. Or the diner that was on the side of the road. Hey, we're hungry. Let's pull in. So
we had a lot of Golden Corral. So
yeah,
and Ryan's Steakhouse. So That was a real treat in the late 90s. So yeah, we will feed them. We will be on time. And those are the things that I can guarantee right now in the tournament. So
Perfect. Well, we are looking forward to it, and good luck this weekend, because it's an important weekend
it
to
is.
get you into the perfect seed of where you want to be to make a run in the tournament again. So we will see you in a few days here in Des Moines, and looking forward to it. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much.